Welcome back to the Mid-Year Mitch YouTube channel. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how I replaced the rusty cowl box on the 67 Camaro. So be sure to stick around. So I'm finally done working on these two Corvettes, so now it's time to turn my attention to the 67 Camaro RS SS. The biggest rust damage is pretty much just down here in the cowl, which you can tell it's rotten pretty good. So luckily they reproduced these panels, so the whole chunk here to replace. So I'm not going to end up using this whole piece, but it's nice that the whole piece is available. So I'm probably going to cut this whole piece out first, leaving all the flanges, go back, drill all the spot welds out afterwards, peel all the metal off of it, and then this lower panel is also rotten. You can see this flange is gone, and this is just super thin here, so I have to cut this out. I want to leave this upper piece in here just because it has like the hidden VIN and has a date on here. It does have a dent they need to work out. So I removed this outer skin from the cowl, and you can see there is a bit of damage on the inside here, so I'm not just going to be able to replace the outer skin. I'm going to have to take some more pieces from this. So probably what I'm going to do is separate this outer piece from the rest of the cowl section. I'm just going to go ahead and splice an area that goes around here, and then including this bottom piece. Weld all that in, then I'll put the outer cap back on. So after removing the outside of the plenum, I saw we have a good bit of rust on this inner structure in here, which this piece is actually part of the rocker. But I found that they sell a whole replacement panel for like 40 bucks. I really only need a small section of this. I'm probably going to end up cutting this one off here, just replacing this section in here that's bad. You can see daylight through in these areas. So it's definitely soft in here. It definitely needs replaced, but it'd be a lot of work to go and replace this whole thing. And it's not necessary. I could have made this by hand, but I mean, for 40 bucks, it's pretty simple. So I have my inner panel fitting up really nice, but before I welded it in, I wanted to get this outer piece cut, so I cut the whole top off, and I just want to set it in place to make sure that on the inside, well, this piece is just kind of hanging somewhere. I had it sitting nice, there we go. So this is how the inner piece is going to sit. I just want to make sure that it's fitting nice with the outer piece because they kind of nest together. I didn't want to weld this piece in and then go to put this in and it's completely off. I have the inner cowl structure patch welded in. I ground down the welds. That way this piece will fit in without interfering. So I'm really happy with that. So I'm gonna scuff all of this, prime it with weld through primer, get all this stuff ready to weld, clean up all the paint that's on here to get ready to seam weld this along. And then I need to drill all these holes, which you might not be able to see. Yeah, you can see it there a little bit. All these red Sharpie marks here are holes I need to drill to plug weld to attach this panel to this to make this all strong. I have the lower portion of the cowl welded on, and I ground down the welds where the outside of the cowl box will lap over that way it doesn't interfere. So now I'm going to cover up the welds with some seam sealer, just in case there's any little pinholes, just to make sure everything is sealed up. So I'll go over all of these, get that ready, let that tack up a little bit, then I'll put some weld through primer on there, let that dry, and then I'll paint the inside of this, and I'll also prime and paint the inside of this guy. So I have the outer portion of the cowl box welded on. I spot welded it, and then I also plug welded some of the holes that were drilled in it. I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. The instructions on the spot welder said to hold it for about 5 seconds on each, but since this is 18 gauge steel on both sides, I tried to do that for a little bit longer, and that left definitely a deeper crater. And then all the areas where I couldn't get in here with a spot welder, like down here, I ran some beads and just like ran some little tacks in here just to make sure it's dialed in. So I'll go and clean some of these up a little bit, but I'm really happy with the way that welder worked. Like I said, got good penetration. Definitely got to make sure everything's clean because it's a resistance welder. So if there's paint on here, it's not going to be able to arc between these two pieces and fuse them together. But I'm really happy with this. So this takes care of a lot of the rust in the car, and it's definitely way better than what we started with this panel that was all dented. The bottom was rotted out. The bottom portion of this was rotted out, and this inner structure was rotted out. I also went in here and just globbed some of this seam sealer on the inside real quick before, I forgot. So that way the metal's clean already. Rubbed that in there. So this should hopefully seal this up, and when we go and paint the inside of the car, then it'll be hopefully sealed in, and then I'll go ahead and touch up any paint in here just from welding that may have burnt off, and I'll put more seam sealer on the outside of this and on the inside. So that'll be in the future whenever we get on to some more body work and some more repairs. But that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And in the next video, I'll be working on the Camaro, finishing up the windshield channel patches, so you're not gonna wanna miss that one. And I have a lot of work to do, so I'll catch you guys later.